Well, hey there. Welcome to Afterburn Soccer Show. I'm your host, Nathan Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on X. And of course, follow us on Substack. Thank you to all of our subscribers, especially those who are pitching in some cash just to create possibilities for road trips and other coverage ahead of FC Dallas and North Texas, and even a little bit of United States men's national team. Um, I'm not sure if Jose is going to join me tonight. He may be running a little bit behind. We've had some technical issues the past few weeks. I think those are sorted out on my end. And also, I'm hitting the road tomorrow, actually flying out of the country for a little bit. So we'll see if next week we have a Afterburn Soccer show. We may, but we'll be checking on that, time difference and all that kind of stuff to make it work. But anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome. We've had a very eventful week. I've got a couple of clips to share with you from Peter Luchin, just to talk about reactions to games against, first of all, a win for FC Dallas at home against Minnesota United FC. A wild one, a hat trick from Peter Musa. 5-2 win at home. It was a lot of fun for once, and I think I had started working on an article this week on Afterburn Soccer, like, hey, it's fun to watch FC Dallas again, and for 70 minutes at least, it was fun to watch FC Dallas go up 2-0 in Seattle, at Seattle, a rare sight, and then the wheels came off, and there were some poor tactical choices, and we'll hear again from Peter Luchin on that in just a moment. But I want your feedback, your reactions. It may be a quick, brief show tonight. And of course, we'll get to North Texas. North Texas got back in action with Michel as their new head coach. Did not quite go as planned, but they did get 2 points, a draw at home after they gave up a late goal, conceded. Tariq Scott had a really nice goal in that one that just was his effort, just him working hard. I was able to speak to him after the match. But, just a momentary lapse, a lapse of concentration, and you can give up an equalizer. But the team did rally and win the penalty kick shootout. Nice to have Michael Collodi back in goal for that team. So we may touch upon that in a minute. Of course, U.S. won 2-0 against Bolivia in Dallas. Did you go to the game? What were your thoughts? Did you get those free tickets? Lucky you. So yeah, we're gonna have fun. But let's just start with Minnesota, and let's just jump in with Peter Luchin, his immediate reaction to the match from Wednesday night.
Recording in
grateful
progress.
about the effort again, about the players. You know that it's very important for me. The effort have been fantastic. I think very pleased about some of the sequences that we had, like playing good football and going like being very vertical, but playing soccer. So overall, I will say that the goal that we concede, I think sometimes we need to be a little bit more smarter in the way to play and to find if we want to play long the other thing. But all the players that, to be honest, is like fantastic job. Like 5 goals at home, I think that the fan was very happy. Of course, that the fan will love to see a less goal conceded, but it's part of the game. I say that we are making progress. We are making progress. It's going to be step by step, but you can see that the attitude from the players is excellent. They want to play. They understand. So now it's just again to find that balance. But I really think that we deserve to win. Maybe against St. Louis it was a little bit different. But today, I think that we deserve to win.
There's head coach Peter Luchin after the Minnesota match, acknowledging, hey, we need a little more balance here. Giving up those 2 goals was not really what they wanted to do, and it's something that I think we see at Seattle, work up in Seattle for FC Dallas's performance on Saturday night. But 5 goals, fans are going to love it. The team worked hard. I mean, Musa getting a hat trick. We haven't had a hat trick for a few years here since Jesus Ferrer did it. So that was really nice to see that again, to see someone scoring, and to know, look, for all of the critiquing of FC Dallas signings by the front office over the past few years, they got it right with Musa. He's worth every penny. And he's scoring goals on not the greatest service. He's getting little chances and putting them in. So imagine if we can surround him with a couple of more guys who are in form. Maybe they're already on the roster, just need to be in form in the right place, and maybe he can do more damage on a regular basis. So I'm really pleased, and I think we're all pleased with that signing and with how he is showing up. Yes, good stuff overall. It was a fun Wednesday night game, and again, that's my big takeaway. If anything, I mean, I understood the philosophy of Nico. And Nico really wanted to control the match. He wanted to have his team in a position to really prevent those opportunities from the visitors, from your opponent, but also take those opportunities to score. And so, yeah, I think Nico's idea maybe would have been like, five chances a game is what he wanted his team to do, but all those chances to be really good chances. So you're not just hitting the ball and hoping it goes in, but you're waiting, you're building up, you're looking for those 5 or 6 opportunities, and they're solid. And so, yeah, there's some are going to be saved, but you're going to score a goal or two because they're such good opportunities. And then meanwhile, you're not giving the ball over in dangerous spots. You're controlling the game, controlling the pace of the game, and you're keeping the other team from really putting their foot down. The problem is, what happens if you don't get those golden opportunities and your team isn't good enough in the final third, which we definitely saw in the beginning of the season. And then what happens if your defense starts coughing up goals? It's ugly soccer. And it can just be about these moments where you're like, hey, yeah, maybe you control the game for 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, but then there's those 2 or 3 minutes where you make a dumb play and you give up some stupid goals, and all of a sudden you're in a hole, and now you can't play this passive. Well, I don't want to say passive, but you can't play a game where you sit back and look for those opportunities. So that's a nice contrast. I think what Peter Luccin said after the first win at home against St. Louis is that he has stressed verticality to the players all week. And I thought that was an interesting word for us to pinpoint because I think, again, Nico wanted to build. He wanted the team to be sort of organized in their approach and their attack, cohesive. And nothing wrong with that. I think that could work in some teams, that could work with some sets of players. In certain circumstances, maybe that's a good strategy. But Major League Soccer, where athleticism is really, sometimes guys have more athleticism than they do skill on the ball. Athleticism can break open opportunities, can break open games. And so I think we saw that in these all 3 matches. We saw a team willing to take risks, willing to get the ball up the field, let guys run onto it. I mean, we got guys like Kumungo, who I always say is a chaos agent. If you can run at players, if you can find some space, it messes up the defense. They have to figure out how to act. I mean, Jesus Ferreira, I think that's one of his gifts too. Musa is great at right now pushing that lineup, trying to find space. Paul Arriola, I know he likes to get into that attack. I think we've seen that Patrickson Delgado has that attacking ability too, where he likes to create some chaos and get into dangerous spots. So we have so many speedy, athletic players on this team. Some of them are different points in their raw skill level. But yeah, like that verticality that the team brought was just that sense of like, let's take some risks, let's get forward, let's disrupt, let's make the defense, our opponents, sweat a bit. And then that alleviates some of the pressure for our defense because maybe we're not having to sit back and defend and just try to win the ball back all the time. But we're giving that sense of doubt to the opponent, so they've got to hang back a bit. They've got to play and approach the game a little bit differently. So it worked in those first 2 matches, and really it worked for 70 minutes in the third match. Yeah. 2-0 in Seattle. I was sitting there on my couch watching this match, writing the questions I wanted to ask Peter Luccin, and then Seattle got a goal. and the game state was that, of course, Luchin brought in some subs, and yeah, they're playing on turf. It's been a long week, third game in like 7-8 days, right? They need to rest some guys. They need to rotate some guys. They need to bring some guys in with some fresh legs. You bring in Dante Sealy. You bring in Omar Gonzalez. Well, what a contrast. I mean, Omar Gonzalez, who is a veteran defender, is going to probably be in the Hall of Fame for Major League Soccer someday or whatever, um, and deserves that for being on championship teams and being an important piece of Major League Soccer. And I think still has something to offer as a veteran defender, but he's not your fastest player right now, and I'm sure he could outrun me, but he's just not at MLS level, especially if you're going to be pushing up the field and then maybe having to run in behind to clean up things. No, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And then Dante Sealy, who is fast, but it's just not a defender. And they've tried to convert him into that wingback role, but he hasn't shown. He had that goal in his first match. I think he had one of the game that he was somewhat better, but just not. It's just not been the season for him, and that process hasn't played out the way maybe they've wanted, or maybe even Dante Sealy has wanted. So, yeah, you bring on some of those subs, and something changes in the team, and so they give up 3 goals, and the team wasn't able to either mentally pull it together and figure out how to get reorganized, to make the right choices. This was a really disappointing match. Did we expect that this team was going to get anything in Seattle? I mean, we were all hoping for a point, and if they ended 2-2, we would have said, "Oh man, we almost had that one." But hey, a point in Seattle, you take it home. 7 points in a week for FC Dallas, who has been struggling. You take it, but you give up that 3rd goal, and just a real disappointment, and another opportunity for Peter Luchin and the whole team to take a hard look in the mirror and be like, who are we going to be? Because they really are running out of time if they're going to claw their way back into a playoff spot. And meanwhile, they gave Seattle a nice boost as Seattle tried to fight back into a playoff spot. So here is Peter Luchin, head coach of FC Dallas, after the match, and I got to ask him a question just about what changed. Here's what he had to say. Yes. Hey, Coach, I know this has to be a disappointing night. Your team was in control, 2-0, 15 minutes to go. You give up 3 goals. What do you think allowed Seattle back into this one, and what would you maybe do differently if you had that opportunity?
So first, as you say, that's like a leading here and that field that we know that is not so easy, like a 2-0. And then I think that after scoring the 2nd goal, we start going back. For me, I mean, like the first problem that I saw that instead to go after, because with a 2-0, we could tell that the Seattle, they were pretty down, and we let them play, we let them manage the game, and that thing have been like a being key in that moment. So we with the sub, so going with the back 5, I just thought that they were starting to put a lot of volume inside and a lot of cross. So putting another extra man inside. So he was just trying to control a bit more the box. And they score. And even with the 3rd goal, I think that we need to be way smarter, and not being like so open like this. I know that it was hard for all the players when they tie, but we need to be like more responsible in that moment, and just they tie, but we can get 1 point and can be mad, but at least we get 1 point. So for me, it's just like tactically, I think that just that we start going back after the 2nd goal. So for me, it'd be the key.
They started going back on the 2nd goal. So you could hear definitely the disappointment in his voice. You could hear, maybe his own hesitation that, hey, maybe different subs could have helped in that situation, or a different set of instructions. I know it's not like you have time to huddle the guys over and make adjustments. This isn't basketball, right? So you have to go with what's on the field. But I agree too about his point about being smarter. There were a couple moments I felt like Tafari was way upfield trying to make a play, and I appreciate his bravery, but he could have maybe won the ball and just hoofed it out of bounds. Let his guys regroup. I mean, I think some of that's what it means to be a leader. Turn around, he can get back in position, and maybe one goal doesn't go in. I know there was a shout too from some fans. I saw that. I saw a comment on Big D Soccer's blog that there should have been a VAR called on the first goal for Seattle, a push in the back against from a Seattle player to an FC Dallas player. Maybe there should have been another look at some of those things, but I don't know. I don't know if it was that egregious or what. In the end, sometimes those little choices are what separates a team that's really going to win and a team that maybe is close but is not going to get over that hump. And I think that's kind of one of our takeaways. This loss against Seattle points that, hey, this team is still not ready. Yeah, they got a nice bump, a nice fresh direction with the new interim head coach. Things look a lot better than they did a few weeks back, but personnel-wise, it's still not there yet to compete with even Seattle. And Seattle is not particularly the best team this year. They're having their own issues. But the way they were able to turn it on there at the end and score 3 goals was just a clear statement of like, hey, FC Dallas needs that kind of mentality. And they should have it. They should have the veteran leadership now to have it. And instead they had leadership on the field who just didn't make the right choice, didn't figure out ways to slow the game down, get the ball out, get their guys organized, stay connected, and grind out a win and make Seattle miserable the final 15, 20 minutes. I mean, just make them miserable. They couldn't do it. So I think we have that contrast. So we have this win against Minnesota. We still have defensive issues, giving up 2 goals. And maybe we were pretty fortunate not to give up goals against St. Louis earlier in the week. But here we saw again that this team needs defensive help, tweaks, needs some adjustments roster-wise. And I think this summer presents that possibility for the Dallas front office to see what pieces they can move around, what space they can open up, and make some of those kinds of positive changes and see if they can bring in some players who can help this team kind of build for a playoff run potentially this year and definitely for the coming year. And I think we saw, like, even in Tafari. Tafari is a fan favorite. We love his expressiveness. He is an incredible guy. Seems like an incredible human being. And almost, in some ways, almost like he's too interesting for Frisco, for life in Frisco. And we see his talent and his ability. I mean, one of the goals he scored recently was just so much fun, and such a dominant kind of performance from him. I think he earned Man of the Week honors or Player of the Week, but also he still shows at times that he doesn't make the kind of veteran move to slow the game down, to step up, to foul in the right spot, I'm here saying it as a sports commentator. I know it's harder to do in the moment than it seems like on the field, but I think Dallas needs that kind of presence, that kind of person who knows how to take the air out of the game. So that's where we are. Wow. So all in all, even though Dallas didn't get a point in Seattle, didn't get a win, you take the direction this has gone. 6 points in the last 3 matches is a lot more than we were expecting. I'm not sure yet this team is a playoff caliber team, but there are definitely steps in the right direction. There's definitely momentum for this team to build on and get better in the coming weeks. And meanwhile, San Jose fired Lucci, so they're the second Berhalter-esque coaching tree. team to be looking for someone else. Even though I have a lot of experience playing Football Manager, I don't think I'm up for that job. There's a lot of challenges with that job. If you think FC Dallas is tough, certainly some talent on San Jose, but boy, they've got some things to deal with, and it's gonna be interesting to see where they go, what direction they go with as a team. North Texas, meanwhile, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 2 points at home at Choctaw Stadium as they welcomed Austin FC2, their in-state rivals, and it was a good match, but you saw that North Texas was a bit rusty. I was able to ask, Michel about, after the match about, was that a sign of just with this time of transition and 2 weeks off? And I think he agreed. I think there was a little, they were a little out of sorts at times. They gave up the goals and clawed their way back into it, took a lead, and then gave up a really disappointing goal, late an equalizer. And so a disappointing result in that sense, that they really felt like they should have had 3 points. But another wake-up call that, hey, they can't make those mistakes. This is a young team. They're going to have to fight. They're going to have to figure out how to be professionals for 90 minutes. But again, I'm just going to say, Enes Salih, he is a bright talent, and I love that he's spending the year at North Texas. I don't think he's going to be with North Texas next season. I think he's going to move up with FC Dallas. But he is showing he has some special gifts. He has some ability. We'll see how it translates with FC Dallas in the future. But go back, watch his goal. And I love Tariq Scott, who's also a senior team signing. I can see why they signed him. He is going to be a wonderful part of that roster. We'll see what his future's like. But I love how he's coming back from injury. He's getting this year to get going again, to build his strength back up. But the guy can take over games. The guy can score, and he's relentless, and he's growing. I was able to chat with him after the match and even ask him about the transition, but he just was agreeing that this is a strong group of guys and not a lot of change, because Michel was an assistant coach with North Texas, so he's not an unfamiliar face. But yeah, that 2 week break of play, they had some rustiness out there, and I think part of that is to blame for just selling for the point at home, plus the shootout point. So Michael Clody again coming up with 2 clutch saves to help the team to that extra point. Yeah, Pepe almost scored for the U.S. Oh, I had my Pepe shirt on and everything, but maybe next time. A decent start for the U.S. We'll see how they can build from this, if they can continue to grow. But I am intrigued by the roster, I think, and just the way these guys are growing together. There's a good chance they could do something special, but we'll see. They're certainly playing a lot better than I have seen them play. I think we all can agree that Berhalter has maybe found some tweaks that has got the team playing a bit more confidence, a bit more dangerous, making some nice triangles all over the field, in their passing patterns. Well, that's it. I think that's it for me. I'll be flying out of the country tomorrow, so trying to catch some FC Dallas games from afar. Hope y'all are good. Hope y'all enjoy it. Stay cool in this hot weather, and we'll be watching FC Dallas in the coming week. Let's see who's up for them next. We got next up. Let's see. Oh, they'll be at home against Cincinnati, which is going to be an interesting match. And then, of course, the annual July 4th game at home against Portland. So those games are going to be huge tests to see whether Lucchini and company and this team are able to build on that momentum. If they can get 6 more points, I mean, yes, we're back in the playoff hunt. But we'll see. Maybe one of those. That July 4th one, both of them because of the heat. It should be possible to get 6 points. We got to get 6 points, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of those ends up being a draw. Since Cincinnati are a good team, they're a really good team. They got issues, but they're a really good team and can do damage. And Portland, is had their own set of issues as well, like Seattle. But so that one, I think, is the one I'd pencil in for the 3 points for sure. I'd sense it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of adjust there. So, and we're looking ahead, of course, at Open Cup game on July 10th in Kansas City. And if you want to talk about a team that's as miserable as they come at Sporting Kansas City. But that'll be a moment for Kansas City to circle the calendar and say, hey, we can turn things around tonight and make life miserable for FC Dallas. So, but there will be a possibility there for Dallas to advance in the Open Cup, and it's a quarterfinal, so it'll be exciting. We'll leave it there. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for watching. I'll be posting the audio tomorrow. Good night, everybody.